Now to the race for the Premier League title, and could yesterday's 4-1 thrashing of Liverpool be a defining day then for Manchester City in their pursuit of the title? Pep Guardiola's side moved 5 points clear at the top of the table with a game in hand, but in contrast it was a miserable day for Liverpool and Jurgen Klopp, who lost at home for the third successive game for the first time in almost 60 years. Yeah, so it was a tough day then for Alisson, who made errors which led to goals. Well, former Liverpool and City goalkeeper David James now joins us now live. Good afternoon to you, David. Of course, that result now leaves Liverpool 10 points behind City, but of course they do have that game in hand as well. Do you think that's ended any hopes of retaining the title for Liverpool?
Yeah, good afternoon. Well, yeah, pretty much. I think Jurgen Klopp pretty much admitted that as well in his post-match interview. The task was going to be difficult in the first place, but that win for City, and so convincingly in the end, I think pretty much rules Liverpool out winning the title.
Well, let's stick with Alisson then. You know, this was uncharacteristic of him, of course. You know, he's been such a cornerstone of Liverpool's success. He has just come back from illness. Do you think that could have been a bit of an issue? I know Klopp mentioned that it could have been down to having cold feet. Was he kind of just joking with that?
I think that was a joke. I mean, I love Jurgen Klopp. I think he's very honest appraisal of a game or post-match. The issue of excuses obviously comes to mind because, you know, it's uncharacteristic of him. He usually says it was a bad mistake and then leaves it at that. But I don't think cold feet. If it was cold feet, then there's no chance of Alisson going to Iceland anytime soon because, as I say, so unfortunately for him, it's uncharacteristic. The issue with the cold might have an impact on that. But as I say, Liverpool as a side weren't playing to the levels that people were expecting. And where West Ham was decided, dare I say, from clinical substitutions and a bit of humour with James Milner and Jurgen Klopp, I think the opposite was seen yesterday. The substitutions were made, and then all of a sudden Liverpool ended up conceding 3 goals. So not a good day at work.
No, it wasn't. You know what it's like. It's quite a lonely position, isn't it, being a goalkeeper? He isn't a player who lacks confidence, but how tough is it to come back from that after a game like that?
Yeah, do you know what? When I knew I was going to come on, I was watching the game last night, and I do know what it's like, and I've been in that position for Liverpool, chasing the leaders and not having the best of games at Anfield and losing. So, yeah, it's a bad place to be. I just hope that, when I say support network, it's not the end of the world, of course, but I just hope for Alisson and the rest of his season that he's got people around him can break down what's happened, assess it properly. He is a top-class goalkeeper, and top-class goalkeepers have off days, and hopefully it's just an off day, and Liverpool and Jurgen's fear of finishing in the top 4 doesn't come to realisation.
Yeah, absolutely. Fabinho and Jordan Henderson starting, of course, the game at centre-back. Is now the time to move one or even both of them into midfield and get these new signings in?
Well, as I said, looking at the formation yesterday, I was so happy that Curtis Jones was starting because I felt the substitution against West Ham changed the game. He was positive, wanted the ball, attacking. Yesterday he didn't have as much influence on the game, but as soon as he came off, the game shifted. And yes, Alisson made a couple of mistakes, but the Liverpool side looked different without him on the field. So with regards to Jordan Henderson pushing him forward, I don't think that matters. I think it just needs that creativity in front of that defensive midfield line. Curtis Jones, I believe, offers that, and then getting the front 3 to be in position to score goals. The chance that Alisson had, the chance that Salah had from the penalty spot, whether it was a dive or not, there was contacts. Other than that, Ederson made a half-decent save from Firmino in the first half, but it just wasn't enough. Man City got a great defence, but they weren't really tested yesterday.
Just finally on Liverpool, Klopp, of course, as you mentioned, said top 4 is Liverpool's priority. They've got Leicester next weekend, who are going about their business rather well as well. Is that a big game, do you feel, for them?
For Liverpool, every game is a big game, and I don't mean that in the cliched way because they're... But at the moment, they need to win those games because, like you say, Leicester there, West Ham are putting themselves in with a shout. Manchester United, obviously, is going to be difficult. Tottenham winning again, getting back to some form with Harry Kane at his usual standard best. I mean, it's going to be tough for Liverpool, very, very tough. And as I say, environmentally, I feel Liverpool have to, Jurgen Klopp in particular, has to look at what's happening at the training facility in preparation for games because they just don't look like the side that should be defending their title. And Roy Keane made some very apt points last night on the show.
You agreed with those comments that Roy Keane made, because they were pretty tough, weren't they?
Yeah, I do. I mean, you know, at the end of the day, if you win the title, you need to be looking to win the second title, follow that on, not just sit on your laurels. And, you know, coming from Roy Keane, a guy who's won multiple titles, he's been in that situation. I think the worst that he probably would have finished with Manchester United is third. And that's a testament to what Manchester United were as a side. And it pains me to say it as an ex-Liverpool player, but you know, Jurgen Klopp has to get that installed into his players, finish in the top four, and then go and fight for the title again next year. OK, put your City hat on then now.
Obviously, also your former club. Huge win for them. And you mentioned Foden, who won man of the match as well, playing in that false nine position. How special is he? And is he the best English player, bar none, at the moment, do you think?
Well, once again, I mean, we're talking about a guy who I've covered in different ways this season, coming on as a sub and being an impact sub, and funnily enough, not starting necessarily as well at the beginning of the season when he was in the starting lineup. But you could tell this lad is super class. When he scored that goal, that was just phenomenal. And, you know, Man City fans, I think England football fans have to be excited by what Phil Foden offers. But again, this is where the management has allowed him to slowly get into the side. It was said in commentary last night that he's the guy that's not going to get brought off now because his form is that good. And looking at Liverpool and Klopp, you know, Curtis Jones could be the next Phil Foden, if that makes sense. But it sounds a little bit premature. But no, Phil Foden is in electric form at the moment. And if he can continue that, you know, besides being a Man City fan, I think an England fan will be delighted to see him playing in the summer.
Yeah, as an England fan, I am. Just what you mentioned there a little bit there, how much credit has to go to Pep, the way that he's been managing Foden and what he's brought out of him?
Well, Phil Foden in his post-match interview made a comment saying about the pressing of Man City, something we've been working on in training. And when you listen to Pep talking in his post-match, he was talking about Phil not fully understanding what his role was in certain positions. No, I'm just saying, it just seems that the levels of communication between Pep and his players are so high that they understand each other essentially to the point that, you know, Phil Foden has developed into such a great player. You look at that side, Diaz, Stones, whoever, they don't seem to have any problems at the moment. And I think if you go back 2 months ago, 3 months ago, whatever, people were talking about Man City being in a crisis, and it was all about Liverpool, Manchester United for the title. So, you know, what Pep's doing is fantastic, and again, justifying why Man City were so adamant on getting him at the club, and this season, more importantly, signing a new contract.
OK. Look, away from all this, I know you are working incredibly hard, aren't you? Let's talk about what you're doing at the moment. A petition you've launched to help grassroots football. How bad is it at the moment?
I mean, the situation with grassroots football at the moment is quite desperate. Utilita did a report back in September which looked at 4,000 grassroots clubs going out of existence because of the initial lockdown. We're now in the third lockdown. Another report has come out which suggests that number is going to be 5,000. It could be worse than that because a lot of clubs are in a mothball situation, protecting themselves until the lockdown is eased. And when we talk about Phil Foden, when we talk about Curtis Jones, these are lads who have started grassroots. You know, the elite players in our game would have started at grassroots level. But it's not just about elite players. It's about the social fabric, the community fabric, and the loss of grassroots football clubs will have a devastating effect on the community beyond just that of our future England or international players.
Yeah, so just finally, David, what can people do then to help those football clubs in real threat of going out of business?
Well, there's a couple of things. I mean, with regards to the petition, go onto Utilita football social media sites. They'll have information on there. But anyone who is interested in helping their local grassroots clubs, find out their contact information, send them a request for any help that could be needed. It might be donations, it might be volunteering work. Of course, everything has to be done in a safe, protected environment at the moment. But just asking the questions of what your particular grassroots club needs would be more valuable than anything else at the moment. And trust me, there are a lot of clubs needing help out there at the moment.
Yeah, couldn't agree with you more. Brilliant to get your thoughts today. Thank you so much for joining us.